Hello, are there?
I am here. All right. Are we interrupting Sammy's thing? We don't have to do this now.
No, she said it was fine. I'm just trying to figure out what I just broke about my visual effect ring stuff, but it's not that important, I guess, actually. Oh, I know what I probably broke, but it's not a big deal. I can fix it later. Alright, so I have the spelling in. Um, I was working on trying to find an animation for dispel and activate and shit. Um,
Right on. Do you have an animation in yet or no?
nah, I mean, I have an animation, but it doesn't like look good. I
What's the idea? Like what's the
well, just so that it looks. I just want some visual feedback. I'll screen or share the screen real quick. See. Basically, though, like the ring is off right now because because for some reason I was messing with the prefab and like the capsule mesh disappeared completely, and couldn't get it back, so I just re-imported it. But anyway, if you do this and you make a rune, right? Um, and then you do the dispel thing, which is that it'll then just break it. But I need something that shows your hand in front of you so that you can see the ring dissipating, you know?
just
Uh,
use the grab things animation for now.
well, the grab things animation, yeah, I guess I could.
Just like the holding
Um,
his hand out wobbling. You could just speed that up maybe so he just like sticks his hand out and puts it back.
let's see here. Where's the animations? Resources. Where are they? Models, animations. Here we go. So I have a couple of things that could work. Like this is like what I think would be cool, but it just doesn't look right with like we just need a real model at some point. Maybe one of the things. And this apparently is actually
You
just
made
literally the
arms,
float.
right? Didn't you make arms?
I did, but when they're rigged, they like kind of when they bend, it doesn't look right. We just need someone that knows like that spends like what they want to do is modeling. I guess you can't see the animation running here,
I
but let
can't
me
see.
swap it over
Yeah, I'm seeing
to,
your animation window.
let's see here. That's the hold animation.
Let me just
Lift
get my work
grab.
computer too in case anybody is trying to.
Yeah, the point hold one.
Made a fake meeting so
Well,
that
this
people
might
wouldn't
work.
bother
Let's
me,
try that.
but that doesn't mean people
Oops.
bother.
Let's swap this for this. Quick cast grab. And let's look at the.
Should make
Oh
a fake
no.
meeting for lunch every day so that I can just take a lunch.
Length is 1.133. So let's change that to 1.133. All right, let's see what that looks like. Come on. Oh, you know what? This is going to be on the wrong hand. There's a right hand operation, huh? Yeah. It also just doesn't look right. Let's hop over to the scene view. Oh, I guess I need both, huh? Yes, the right hand doing it, that's why. All right, so let's see if we can mirror that. Still doesn't look right. Nothing looks right because we just need real. We need
Yeah, we
someone to
we do need
really
to
do
put in real
animation.
real arms.
We
I
need to
can.
do real stuff. Um, Everything right now is kind of patchwork, so if we can get that stuff in, and also just clean up this folder in general would be nice too. The adding animations and attaching them and stuff, that stuff's easy. It's just getting the models and the right animations to do what we want. But anyway, in the interest of your time, um,
All right, let me show you my ideas um for like what I came up with for reverse engineering the runes. I didn't, the grow shrink is fine. No, literally, I just love that rune. It's no matter what model we use, it's good.
yeah, I mean this grow
Yeah.
shrink is just nice, easy. Everyone's gonna want to do it, and it gives every player a once an instance of, oh, I guessed it, cool. So
Yeah.
everyone should be able to guess that.
So this is what I came up with the first night was like the first I thought about this like a couple times, and like the first night I was just fiddling around drawing stuff. I came up with these. See these four on the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
These four would be if we went to a one draw model, but we're not really
Looking to do that,
looking at
yeah.
that right now. But those are the ones I would do for a one draw model. Up here, I think are the contenders for our current model. So
Mm-hmm.
originally I had this sort of like horseshoe shape for the
Like an
attract.
omega kind of thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
the omega kind of thing for the attract. And I thought, it could be a form function thing is like, what if we made our own collider? What if we made a mesh similar to how we make the door mesh in 3D and made our own collider based off that mesh based on the this inside part of the ring. That was my first idea. It's worth considering maybe for other things, but I have a better idea now. Then my
Mm-hmm.
then so my idea now um for that rune is what if we did this? This might be hard, but I think it would be rad as hell if we could do it.
I
So
already like the general idea. Is it gonna pull back from that path anything that is there?
not quite, although that would be maybe cool too for the path rune or something. But like,
Yeah, almost just make the attract rune the path rune
how
and
hard
just.
would it be to get the model to like basically this? What I was thinking was, if we do like the grab pull with an actual hand animation, we could use this, and this line, the length of this line would basically determine the tallness of the collider, so how far away it would attract things from, but not necessarily the power at which it would attract things from. So just the length at which it would be able to
Mm,
attract things from. And then the circle here for the hand would be where the collider is put, and then
mm.
the fingers are just fingers.
Yeah, they're just for the identifying. Yeah. I really like this as a rune. I would almost prefer it as a path rune. My only issue with, so here's what I'm thinking, and this is gonna take more work. If we do the line thing being the distance thing, then we need to animate this so that this line is movable and that hand fucking wanders.
Well,
Um,
wait, what do you mean?
like I'm thinking here, let me draw. Can you see? Oh, here, let me switch my screen. I think you're gonna like this because I really like it, but it's gonna be way more complicated. But I think in the end, it would be worth it if we could get it to work. It's like it's complicated, but it's not like super complex, and it works better and it will work well if we have the limited number of come on, why is this here? I don't know if you can see this, but the stupid GeForce like Nvidia thing
I
popped
see.
up.
It's a little washed out, but I can see.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so we have our rune, right? And you draw this, you draw that, and you have your hand right here, right? And then based on basically what you're saying is, okay, this line is like approximately this long, so this would be like our area that the hand could grab in, something like that, right?
This is
Like the
not what I
hand would.
pictured, but go on. I'll tell you
So
how I pictured it, but keep going.
so then I'm thinking, what if we make it so that this guy moves around and crawls around in here in
Like
this
the actual
area.
rune, like the drawing
Yeah, like
itself.
the hand.
That would be really neat.
Right? Like, think about it though. It's not actually that complicated
I don't love that for
if we
puzzles
just
though,
like
because
take
that's
the
like
length of
that.
this.
I don't love that for puzzles though, because that's like
I don't know. I kind of love it, but sorry. Go ahead.
it's,
Explain
just
why.
because that's like well, the way I had pictured it was the utility of the like this is neat. This is a really cool effect, and that would be really cool. So just so I'm gonna guess where you're going with this. The hand pops out of the hand will travel around in there, and if anything, and the collider will travel with it. And like you're not saying the circle is the collider, right? The collider would still be the center of the hand.
The circle like kind of becomes an AoE of where the hand will start like if something falls in there, the hand will like immediately head towards it, grab it, and then pull it in.
That is a really neat effect, but I think ultimately that just does become that does just it is just a cooler way to do what we're already doing, where it's like within if something has to fit
Yeah.
in this area. But like where
Right?
I
That's kind of awesome. It doesn't need to fit. Like I kind of like it. Like the hand becomes almost like a hoarder. Like the hand wants to just collect things, which I kind of think is cool.
that is really neat. The thing that you lose from my so the way I had pictured it was it's
I want to
the
hop over to your stream again.
like the maybe do I need to draw this? The utility of doing it this way and the form function thing that we gain, I think what you just described is a really rad way to do what we're already doing, but doesn't actually give it more form function. The form function is still just size. The
Well, no, well the this line determine is its leash, right? And the end of this line is the center of the leash, right? So you have form
okay,
function
okay.
in that.
So can it
So this
straighten
line,
out though? Because it's gonna look weird. Like if it did
yeah,
this, I would
yeah. So
want to be able to
so
straighten
basically
out.
this line will have a length, right? And each point is like will have a distance, so I can get the total length of the line, and then I'll allow it to stretch and like that basically the length of this line, the first one, will determine the size of this radius.
Yeah. When it's fully stretched out, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. I'm only drawing it like so. Really, in reality, it would look more like like this, like the when it's fully
Also,
stretched.
what you're gonna
Right?
have to contend with this too is like edges and like if you draw this on a cube, is it gonna go around the corner and things like that?
So
Um,
that's the other. So we could the easiest way to handle that would actually like almost be to make this to write this onto like a bendable 3D quad, right? That's like has actually is actually several quads like attached and allow it to move in 3D space. And then that way you can do a sphere, like a 3D sphere, right? Or I guess just do that here, right? You could do a 3D sphere.
man, I'm so torn now because I do this sounds so cool, but I also think if it can go around the edges of a cube, then all a player ever has to do, like I can never do a puzzle where like access to the backside of a cube is to like where they would have to see the backside of a cube to draw on it. Maybe that's fine. I yeah, I
Well, it
mean,
depends. It depends on how long you can draw that thing. Um, but yeah, there's something there. I think
I
that is.
guess maybe I
I
could.
really like it.
I the way I had pictured it was
Yeah,
the
yeah. I don't think we ever actually went through that. Yeah.
form function of it is now like if I have say I have two non-draw like I have the you can't draw on this area here,
Hmm.
right? Like now I have that like um I pictured this line as being totally malleable. Like the player could draw it basically any way they wanted. So like they could draw it like this and then around the corner and then here, and now that's where the collider is, right? And you could do puzzles where like you know I only have there's another non-drawable area here and I need it to be there. So I only have this much now. I only have this much length of the collider. So I have to figure out where to draw it in this non-drawable how to draw the arm in this non-drawable space to get the
How does it
to,
actually work though? Does it like when it attracts, like what does it do? Is
the
it
same
just
exact. It
following
is
that
exactly
path?
the way it is now. It's just this is where the collider goes, and the length of this arm determines how far away it will pull
Okay, but it doesn't,
something
so it
from.
doesn't follow the path. It just like, so if I put an object in that collider, it would just do like as the crow flies back to the start.
The if Yeah, it would work. The collider would go here, and it would be the exact collider we have right now, basically.
Yeah, but like, so what I mean is, so if I were to, in your instance, you draw, let's clear this real quick. So you have like a turn here, right? And then you have your hand here, right? Um, so if I have this and the collider, and I have something, and there I put an object. Let's make a new color. I put an object here, right? Does the object take this path
No,
back?
it doesn't have anything to do that. The only thing about the arm is like how long is it going to be, and can you draw that like in terms of the object, it just
Oh,
gets
I
stuck to
see
the
what you're
center of the
saying. So
hand.
then, so there, this arm is here. So then you're saying based on this length, determine some collider size over
Yes,
here,
like the tallness
which
of the
which then
collider.
pulls it back to here. Okay,
If we're looking top down, how far up does the collider go
yeah,
is related
I
to the
see.
length. I do really want to use your thing, but can we split it so that it's like one is the path rune or something, or maybe it's like a two like
Maybe,
a
but then I
advanced
think the
rune.
hand rune needs to be that, right? Because it
Yeah,
feels so much
yeah,
cooler.
yeah. I could rework the shape of the original one, but something like for the attract, I think I could. Maybe we don't do the hand pull animation for the attract then. Maybe I just put a magnet on the end of it or something like that. I don't know.
I kind of consider it the path rune, the hoarding rune now. I guess it is the path rune, path slash hoarder. I like that it's like it's this greedy hand that that
So
just
go back to yours
takes
for a
things.
second. Where does it pull so in yours it's always pulling towards the center of where the arm comes from?
In mine, the way I'm thinking of it right now, and this would be, we'd have to mess around with it to see what works best. So, like, imagine an arm. Here's the area the arm can work in, and the arm starts here, right in the center. And this is a fully extended arm,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it only resets a corner. So the arm will basically there would be a sphere, a 3D sphere here, a sphere collider is what it would be. Anything in the sphere collider, if the hand could get to it, it'll grab it and pull it into the center here. Um, and it'll just keep doing that, I guess.
Okay,
Keep
I
pulling
would.
things.
I still think
It's
that
not
there's
even a
room then
path
to do.
rune.
Yeah, this isn't the path rune. This is just a new rune. I still think the
Yeah.
path rune as like just a like follow this path, go from
Yeah.
the path rune as like the only rune that can go through other runes or like on top of other runes where it'll like pull things through a series of things to make a little machine.
Yeah, there is a version of this where we would just do it and it would just follow the path back, right? But that isn't as cool as this in my mind. This like hand that moves around. Ideally, we make it the hand that you draw so that we put that texture on it. But if we really have to and it gets hard, we could just make some hand model that has like a repeatable texture that can go along like a or
Also,
just a
so
visual
this
effect that goes
hand is
along
going to
this.
move in 3D space in this sphere collider then, right?
Yeah, so it'll have to have colliders of its own
I
to
actually
make
kind of
sure.
like it better if it moves if it's a well, I guess I don't know if
I
it
mean,
does
I agree with you. That is kind of cool.
going
It
around the
just becomes
edges
more
of a cube
difficult.
and pulling
Yeah.
something from the back. Yeah, that would be harder. That's fine.
It's
This is
possible. It is possible. If we can figure it out, I'm down to try. I think we should strive for that. That should be like we should try all versions of that. It's gonna be weird, but it's not necessarily impossible because really because this is literally just a mesh, right? Like it's a mesh of its own. All of these lines are a mesh, so it's really just about moving the vertices in such a way that it never goes underneath. So if we just do a really thin collider on the mesh, theoretically, it could work.
I do like the
Um,
idea of like I kind of like the idea of this instead of it being retract repel, it's attract and hoard are like the same kind of
yeah,
rune, like the same family of rune.
Well, repel would be its own thing, right? But
Right,
attract.
repels its own thing, and then
Oh,
attract
you mean
and
families, like slight variations. I got you.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the attract in this I feel like could have similar drawings because they are they do have a kind of similar concept form function wise,
Hmm.
and they could be like yeah like where it was attract repel now it's attract horde or whatever we end up calling it. Uh,
I wish we had thought of this earlier because I feel like I could prototype this in like a week. I don't have time to get it in for this next
it's
thing,
fine.
but that's fine.
There's plenty
Yeah.
of time in the future,
They'll
but
probably be. Hopefully, they'll just be impressed by the fact that we changed to real shapes instead of just The last time they only got to play with the door. This time they'll get to play with it a
I
lot more.
also
So,
here I'll try to make it through. That was my
yeah.
main big one, but so I should be able to make through the rest pretty fast. But
All right, I'm watching your stream.
I did want to point out that I'm not sure why the runes are not working in the test room. They were working in the horror, or were they working? No, maybe they weren't working in the horror one. Do I have to pull something new in because right now
Can
nothing.
you not draw at all, or is it just
I could
not?
draw, but it doesn't. Nothing classifies no matter what.
So you have a null reference there. That's the first place to look. What's that null reference?
We don't need to solve it now, but just I'll
Yeah.
need your. I probably will need your help to.
Maybe at some point I'll jump over to your branch and fix it today, and that way it'll just work, and you can just pull
I
and
also need to make
it'll
it so that these things reform
break
after
when
a
you
certain
stand on
amount of
them.
time. Well, they
Yeah.
break and then also come back together eventually. Maybe
Gotcha.
actually I'll make the things actually come back together.
Yeah, that's the way it should be done for sure. That'll look cool. It'd be
Um,
cool if they have
I'm not
collides
sure
of
I'll
their
get that
own
with Halloween and everything. I'm
time.
not sure I'll get that done
Yeah.
for this, but okay, where was it? Okay, so then for the cannon, I'm just gonna start calling it cannon.
Yeah, it is a cannon rune.
I figured since it's I think the interesting thing about the cannon is I had two possible ideas for the cannon. We do this shape that I was originally wanting to do for the mirror rune that you did,
Nice
like this
shape.
sort of
Yeah.
like a person's shoulders and head, and then
Yeah.
this, and then like a number of dots between here and here, and the number of dots is the form function, and the number of dots represents the number of things that can be queued up in the cannon before it will start firing them out. So like
Hmm.
it just gets there's another idea too where the dots could represent the amount of time it always shoots things out as soon as it gets them, and the dots represent the number of seconds before it will shoot, basically.
Yeah, that could be cool. I'm trying to think of which one I like better. I think I like the time better than the number of things because I like the idea that, well, I guess I'm trying to think of why you would want to wait for the number of things, like, whereas the timing thing just makes sense. If it's a timing puzzle, then you would put a number of dots to time it out properly,
Well, it
right?
would be like I need to find three things. This cannon won't fire until I load three things into it
Yeah,
in
but
this
you could
case,
just,
right?
why wouldn't you always just put one dot into it? Or like,
Why don't you always just
oh,
duplicate them, I guess, also.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but I do like the timing
The
idea, right?
timing one
Because
is yeah,
then,
the timing
yeah,
one maybe is a little better.
it
So
makes more sense for puzzles and stuff.
if
And
we do this, I think we keep this shape, but we allow more leniency and just use this for the eye. Maybe like the sharper one is like the blind, and the rounder one is the invisible or whatever.
yeah,
Because I do still like drawing this shape, and it should be used
yeah,
somewhere.
that was my favorite shape to draw by far so far.
And then for the I've three possible iterations for the duplicate. So I think either we do like these could be lines. Basically, what we have now, but like lines or dots. I like the dots better personally, but like basically what we have now. Or I was thinking this one for both. Like we could
Well,
just
remember, dots get weird. The one thing you have to remember for dots is when you draw it really big, the dot needs to become a circle. Just something to keep in mind.
hmm, just because it doesn't read.
Yeah, it
Why?
doesn't read right.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. So
I guess I don't know. Maybe it doesn't need to, but it does look really silly when you make like, let's like think about the one you're hovering over right now. Imagine that triangle to be the whole screen size, and then you just put one little tiny dot in the middle, right? That looks
yeah,
weird.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Um, I was also thinking we
But
could
for
use.
the one all the way on the right, the dot actually still works, right? Because no matter how big size wise you make it, the dot will still look okay because it'll just be the thickness of the line that matters.
Yeah, I was with this one. I was thinking like this still has the properties of a triangle as long as we train the thing to be like to basically say like these lines have to be somewhat equidistant from each other. Well, I actually it always has the properties of a triangle because you just draw a
Yeah,
triangle between them,
it's
right?
always going to be the properties of triangle. There's like with the classifier, trying to train a classifier to tell the difference between a equilateral, like an isosceles, and a acute or whatever angled triangle, oblique or whatever the fuck the other one is, I forget.
Yeah.
That's really difficult to do. But trying to just finding the shape, that's it can do that. Um,
And then I was thinking if we did this, it could be like it would be considered a duplicate if it would be something like the closer of the two lines could only be used for like the closer angles could only be used for the duplicate, where the other one could only be used for the combine or something like that.
mm.
But like I'm pretty happy actually with what we have right now for it. The only reason I drafted this at all was because I didn't know like if we wanted to get away from corner detection and like in like getting confused with
Sometimes it
this.
does actually. The duplicate and the repel do get confused for each other occasionally because they're actually surprisingly close.
Right, that's
Uh,
these
yeah.
getting confused, and also like just the fact that like we can get away from corner detection and still have the properties of a triangle with this symbol.
Hmm.
So that was
Yeah, I
basically
mean
all
that
my.
is that there is. I do like corner detection for the door, and I do like it for I like that it works, but it is like it's not perfect yet. There's still some bugginess with the projection I'm doing. I need to troubleshoot that, and also like if we can get away from it, even better, because it is not a super efficient algorithm. I do have to go through every set, but like in this case, if we're doing the thing right, if we say that this has to be drawn in one, two, three, four, 5 lines,
Right.
right, or 6 lines, maybe would just to be
I
make
would
it
do I would do
easier.
6 because
Yeah.
like the benefit of this symbol also is like sometimes when I'm doing this, the prongs aren't really going where I intend them to go, and it's really hard
Yeah.
to draw a triangle that's like your the extreme triangles that you showed as examples of like bad like
Hmm.
what do you do in this scenario? Like in this, you have way more control over like I want these two lines closer together and yada yada yada.
I
Like
like it. I do like that shape better. Like the more we're talking about it. I like the original shape, but the original shape is too close to the repel, and I like it better. Um, I like what. Yeah, I agree.
I think we
That
can
this.
recycle these for something else
Yeah.
and maybe make them more detailed. We can do something with these later, but I do
I
think
do
for
like
the.
it. So we do 6 lines, and then I can just do the three smallest line lengths are the where I place the detectors, because that's going to be the dot, right? The dot will theoretically be the
Yes,
line
yes.
length.
The I
Yeah.
was also thinking, would there? This is a whole other subject that I was going to bring up some other time. And I do have to go very soon, but like,
Mm.
would there be a model of this where like it is you can do multiple strokes and maybe we could even incorporate stroke count or whatever if that was needed, but like would there be ever a model of this where like drawing a dot is equivalent to an activate button, like the dot is like the punctuation that says go now, look at this, and they would be kept as
We'd
two
have to be
separate
classifying
drawings.
after every line, and we want to minimize our classifications generally. I mean, there could be a version with it. Who knows with that new Centis model? If it's way more efficient, then maybe it's not a big deal. But right now, because we get frame drops, we get frame drops even though it's subtle. We get frame drops on classifying. I'd want to minimize classification to just the
So
end.
the idea here would be it would only you would draw as much as you want. It would only classify when you put a dot, and when you put a dot, it would try to find you would need to hold the drawings, the old drawings in memory though. So you put a dot, it would find the nearest drawing. Then it would say
I guess there's a version actually we don't need to do. There's a version actually where you could do it without that. I need to think.
We don't need to
So
figure this out right now. I just thought with the dots, I was like, they're a nice punctuation, and it feels like they should be the last thing I draw on all of these. So like,
we
if
can
that,
mess around with that, but like as long as the dot is truly a dot, like they don't move their mouse, then theoretically I could detect that circumstance when you're adding it to a drawing, right? And say, okay, that's the end of the drawing. Like
right?
if if they release left click and there's only one line, one dot, point in the line, then at that point it becomes a at that point that's the end. There is a possibility, and then that could be a one
I yes,
button drawing.
that was mainly for like, yeah, you could do one button drawing. You could still do stroke count on the other things potentially too, but well, actually no, I guess you couldn't, right? I don't know,
Well, you
but
could do stroke count because, like, basically what would happen is it would be a little weird because it would be hard to reset. Like, you'd have to just draw random dots and reset. I guess it wouldn't be that hard, but it feels a little weird, right? To just like, oh, I fucked up. I need to draw a dot, you know, um, to end that line.
well, no.
But the
So the way I was thinking of it was every time when you draw as much as you want, right, and it never classifies. When you draw a
mhm.
dot, it finds within a certain distance. I really gotta go, but
I don't like
within,
those distance functions because it makes it hard to like you don't know what the how far the camera's margins are. And my to make it like to center everything, I put the camera margins to be decently thick. So sometimes it's not obvious to you
well,
when you're
the
picking
camera
up.
drawing, the camera thing would be like, it's hard to it's gonna be hard to explain, but like the you would save the individual cameras for each, like the snapshots for each drawing, but you wouldn't classify yet, basically. And then when the
Yeah, but how would you know when to like if you were doing one button drawing, how would you know what drawing is what? Like are you
That's
always
okay. So that's what
yeah.
I'm trying to get to. So like it finds the nearest thing, basically. It finds the nearest drawing with it, like a close drawing, right? It has to be close to something. It
Are
then
we doing one button drawing
this
or
could
is
be
this
one or
two
two
buttons
button,
drawing?
either way. But like, there's all sorts of possibilities. But like with the one button, I guess it would be like if it was one button, it would find the nearest thing, and then it would find anything that any two cameras that were over top of each other, any two drawing cameras that were over top of each other would
Well,
be.
we only want one drawing camera because we don't want to be rendering multiple things.
Well, you don't need to render it, but just need to take a you need to know where it is in its dimensions. If you can
Hmm.
hold that, right? And if those cameras are over top of each other, such that the lines are intersecting. That's what I'm trying to find. Is like, are there intersecting lines? If so, consider that all part of one rune. We don't have to work this out.
Yeah, I think that is like it becomes really complicated to be honest. I don't think it works the way that necessarily. I think you're gonna run into a lot more bugs that way than doing it the other way. And not to say it's impossible, but it becomes much more difficult thing to do, especially efficiently, because before you even start to classify, you need to do an area check, um, which could
Is that more
be
expensive than classifying? Like, my whole idea with this is like you would classify way less. You would have to
no,
classify way
well,
less
why would it be less? Because
because it's
right
only when you
now you
draw the
classify
dot
the
that you're
minimum amount, right now you classify only when you think you have drawn your rune.
right. You're classifying every time you release the button. Whereas this in this model, I was thinking you could draw as much as you want, but it would only classify when once when a dot was drawn,
Yeah, but
basically.
the only difference being, okay, I draw my dot, like I either release right click or draw my dot. You can still do both things, right? Like it'll still only classify when you want it to. So the classification they're equal. They do actually the same amount. But the
Yeah.
difference being is in the model we have now, we know exactly what we need to classify right off the bat. There's no question involved. It's just the bounds of the drawing. Whereas in that one, we have to do work to find which like it'll slow it down. We need to do work to find which lines are relevant to this dot. Um, and that will slow down classification because before we even feed the picture to the model, we need to find that we need to do an area search and then find intersection lines and stuff like that. It's just I don't think that model necessarily works as efficiently or as
Is it
easily
really that
implementation.
expensive to just find the nearest thing?
Well, not to find the nearest thing, to find all nearest things, and then do a validation on them to make sure they're intersecting or whatever it may be,
Well, you don't need to
right?
find all. You just need to find the nearest one, and then from its area, you look and see if anything is within that.
Yeah, well, you find the nearest one, and then you have to find like, what if there are multiple lines, right? So then, how do you know? So what's the next line? Aren't you gonna need to consider multiple lines? So you'd have to be okay. Here's the nearest one. Here's the next nearest one. Here's the next nearest one, and it would be in an area from the dot, right?
Well, if the so it says say this one for example is drawn in 3 lines, right? And I draw a dot here.
Hmm.
I find the nearest line, which is this one, and then within its camera area, right? These two are also going to share the same camera area, so they're also considered. We're putting them
Yeah, but you're
together.
gonna have to check that. Like, you don't know where those other drawings are. You're gonna have to check which drawings are near you, and you're either gonna have to have colliders for them to see if they're within some sort of collider range and do physics checks, right? Or like do a raycast or some sort of physics collider check to see if
I
those
guess if they
things
don't put a
fall
dot for
in.
a real long time and we allow them to draw infinitely, that could get to be a lot. But it was mainly a method to try and move to a one-button control scheme and classify less. But
The best
I
way
really
that
do.
that works is if as you start drawing, anything you draw is considered to be like within that single drawing is considered to be a single drawing, and then when you do the single point, it just classifies all of it, just like if you were to release the right click in that case. But the issue I have with that is if you fuck up, you have to put a dot to reset, which might feel unintuitive. Um, but
I mean, you if you hit the dispel button, I don't think it would be that bad. But either way, it was just a idea,
Well, you wouldn't
not
be
for the.
dispel. Dispel only applies to active runes. Like I don't put the
Oh,
fizzles
if a
in.
rune, so how does a rune disappear from the world if it's not if it doesn't classify
We
as
could
a
put a
rune?
timer on it if we want to, but like remember I was thinking the runes would stay. That's what we actually never got there. Remember, I was talking about maybe doing a blackboard, right, where people could, because I want people to be able to write in world to like mark things in the world for like keep their own notes. But maybe it does make sense to say just fuck it. We don't want all these fucking triangles and meshes. They'll just evaporate over time.
I mean, if they
Um,
evaporate over time and you mess up a rune, regardless of which model and it doesn't classify, it's not going to classify. You just walk away and it
well, no,
just
because
dissipates.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying like so in your model right here, I drew this and I'm like, oh, I fucked up. But if I don't put my dot, this thing, the next thing I draw will be considered as part of this drawing in the model. The compromise model that I'm talking about, the more efficient version. So like, if I draw this line, then I'm like, this doesn't look right. That's not where I need it. Then anything else I draw before I draw a dot is still considered to be the same picture. Um,
And you're saying in the current model we have, you would just release at that point.
Yeah, you just release because whatever, who cares, right? Oh fuck, that's wrong. Okay, new drawing, and then it's moved on. But here, the difference being it's not even that big of a deal. It's effectively in terms of
It's effectively the same thing.
efficiency, it's the
Yeah, yeah,
same.
yeah.
But what's more intuitive, like having this thing where you have a thing where you're holding up your tool, or the button, the dot where, and also the dot can be slightly more buggy because you could do what I just did there, right? Where I was moving, so it actually counts as two. Um, that also is another thing that we would have to address in some way. We could have it be a limit, but then like make sure like maybe just two is fine, but three is wrong. I don't know, it could be finicky, but you know what I mean. I don't mind it conceptually, but I'm not sure it is an improvement over the
No,
over
I
this.
wouldn't go with that model. It would only work if we did the find the
Yeah,
nearest thing
I think that
thing.
yeah, the find the nearest thing can become
I That's something that maybe I
really
could actually
inefficient
try and make if once you but if
if
you
you
just
want
walk
to.
me
Yeah,
through using your
I'm
other
yeah,
functions.
I'm completely fine with like, spending time just figuring stuff out and seeing if it works.
I
What the
really
hell's
do
going
gotta
on
go though.
there?
I'm like 10 minutes late, but
Right.
yeah I will so yeah, I just need to get the drawing. I won't be able to work on it much tonight. I probably will work on it a little bit after Trick or Treat. But I will need to figure out how to get the drawing stuff in here. Uh, I probably won't do anything with this. I will probably just like make a, make some place you could jump around and make a thing where you could like I plan to put some rings so you can like repel some stuff through some rings and like like a little basketball hoop
Yeah.
with some where you could put some repel runes and stuff like that. Put a basketball hoop
Right.
up
Well, I
here.
will. Yeah, it's nice to be able to. It's actually super nice to be able to, uh, you know, dispel things, especially if you like trap yourself in here. Right. I'm trapped, and then, bam, dispel.
On
Oh.
your screen is so washed out that it looked like there was fire everywhere,
Well,
and you
actually,
were
no,
like
I
trapped
broke
in a ring of
something.
fire.
There's a bug there because it didn't actually dispel, and I don't know
But
why.
all right, ideas logged. Like I said, I'll try to get on as early as I can tomorrow night. We can try and put everything together. I'll
Okay.
catch you
Yeah, that
later.
sounds good. Later.